Hashem's presence in the world. God's presence in the world. And we said yesterday that the Baal HaTanya said that there were those that mistakenly understood the Arizal's teachings that we were speaking about yesterday, that when Hashem, the infinite one, that when Hashem, when it was when it went up on Hashem's will to create the world, so at that moment, there had to be a space in order to allow for finite existence to exist, because finite existence within the infinite would be swallowed up, and therefore that space, if you understand that it was literally space, it means that Hashem Chas v'Shalom departed. And we said yesterday, according to the Mishnah's Chassidim, that here's the words of the Tzaddik from the Yosha Levav, Hachas al kovoid koinai, somebody who actually cares about the honor of the Lord, of his Creator, Sarich laloi saliba, he has to have it come upon his heart, machsheves tzimtzum ze kipshuta, it has to come on his heart that Hashem actually departed. Because otherwise you would put Hashem into very lowly places. So rather, what is it? It's like a king. This camp describes it like a king who's watching out of his window what's happening by an unclean place. Maybe by the garbage, whether doing certain operations by the garbage and they're taking it out, and so the king is watching, he's aware, he's supervising, but he's not there. That'd be very lowly. And therefore the Mishnah's Chassidim says in Yosha Levav, if you actually care about your Creator, you would see that the Tzimtzum has to be kipshuta. But then we said the Baal HaTanya absolutely rejects this worldview. And we're going to get into that now. Okay? And we began yesterday to speak about how we would live as human beings in this world if we said that Tzimtzum was kipshutai, was that it would mean that in the dark places, Hashem is not actually there. He's aware of what's going on, but He's not with you. Whereas if you understand that Tzimtzum is shaloi kipshutai, it means that Hashem is mamish there, in the shmutz with you. He's in the trenches. He's going through all of the challenges that you're going through. He's with you through it all. Baruch Hashem.
And that includes under 10 Tachim?
Yes, and that's the message of Chanukah, is that Hashem can even come. That's a lomdisha thing to say, by the way. You had to know a bit of shas to say such a thing. So thank you for saying that. Is that usually Hashem does not, like what they say, come below 10, so to speak, because that's the world of the chitzonim. Except on Chanukah, it reveals that Hashem obviously comes even there. Even to the world of the darkest places. Chanukah is all about the Tzimtzum not being kipshutai, obviously. That's why the world of Chassidus explodes on Chanukah. All those that are big Chassidim of Tzimtzum Shaloi Kipshutai love Chanukah. That's why there's a mamish explosion of Chanukah Torahs that's just growing more and more. Every single year there's like 50,000 new Chanukah Sfarim coming in. Everything is just the explosion of ore coming out of Chanukah. So listen to the words now of the Baal HaTanya explaining why it has to be that the Tzimtzum is Shaloi Kipshutai. That Hashem didn't actually leave. It only seems that He left. Okay, that's an important point. Meaning you might say, what do you mean? It looks like He left. I don't see that I'm a ray of light on the sun, Rabbi. You are. You're just not aware of it. That's what He did. He created a perspective that you don't see Hashem, but He never left. That's the powerful message of the Tzimtzum being Shaloi Kipshutai, is He never actually left. He created a situation where it looks like it. But if you can get around that veil, then all of a sudden you're a ray of light on the sun. There's a famous story, we've said it before, of Levi Yitzchak Mebeditchev, the heilige Levi Yitzchak ben Sarasasha, and his grandchildren were playing hide and go seek. And they were playing hide and go seek, and of course, what's the game? One of the children would go and hide, and the other ones would seek. Ready or not, here I come. And they would go, and eventually there was one of the grandchildren that they felt they found the best hiding spot in the world, mamish. Nobody was. You ever been a kid and you felt like, nobody's gonna find me. You feel so good at that moment. And your mamish hiding there, and you can't wait. You're gonna wait and just burst out like, oh, we finally get. You didn't find me. So eventually he waited so long, and the longer you wait, the better that moment is going to be when you just burst out. So he waited and waited and waited, and who knows, bless you, an hour later, here I am! And they were all playing another game, kickball over there, at the other side of the playground. He's like, yeah, what do you mean? We're playing hide and go seek. You can't, what do you, so he runs over to the, what are you playing, kickball? We're playing hide and go seek here. He said, we tried to find you, and we couldn't, so we went on to another game. He said, that's not the game. The game is you seek until you find. I'm hiding, and you seek until you find. Oh, relax. We couldn't find it. That's not the game. The game is that you seek until you find me. And he said, just relax. I said, no, we're going to Beis Din. We're going to Beis Din. So they said, who's Beis Din? We're going to go to the Zaydi, the Kedushas Levi. So they came to the Kedushas Levi. And the Toiveya, who was being Toiveya them, who was coming with the claim, he said, the game is that you hide and you seek until you find me. And they said, we try this, and they said, that's not the game. And the Kedushas Levi started crying. And he said, Hashem said the same thing. Hashem said, I'm hiding. And he's right. You have to seek until you find. You can't give up and play some kickball or something. He's here. And you know what the secret is? If you know somebody's hiding in the closet, you don't see them, but you know they're there. Are they really hiding? You know they're there. They're not hiding anymore. You remove all of the distance. In one moment, they're not hiding anymore. Hashem is right here. So once you know that he's here, the game is over. It's like, I know you're in there. Okay, here I am. In 1 second, they're not hiding anymore. So in the world of Tzimtzum Shalaik Pshutai, it's only from our perspective. But Hashem says, I'm right here. So now the Balatanya is going to bring 2 Rambams to show how it has to be that Hashem did not actually leave. Okay? So listen carefully. So it says the Balatanya. Al kol hayitzurim kulam asher b'shamayim mal ve'ala aretz mitachas v'hine milvad she'i efshar klal. It's impossible at all. Loimar inyan atzimtzum kipshutai. It's impossible to say that Hashem actually left. Why? Shehu mimikre aguf. If you say that Hashem actually left, then you're ascribing to God, chas v'shalom, a body. Ala Kadosh Baruch Hu, hanivdol mehem, riboy revavois havdalois ad ein kates. Hashem is separate from any concept of a body whatsoever. Why does, by virtue of saying that Hashem actually left, make Hashem, God forbid, as having a body? Because if you say that Hashem is here but not there, well, bodies are things that are in a certain place. This body of mine is here. It's not over there. By saying that Hashem is here, i.e., outside of the creation, that he left, that he's outside the Chalal Haponui, that the Tzimtzum is Kpshuta, that he mamish left, you're turning Hashem into having a body, because bodies are in a certain place and not others. You hear? Says the Rambam, going through this in detail. And this is like Hashem having a body is like, it doesn't get much worse than that. In the key philosophical awareness of the infiniteness of Hashem, you cannot put any body on Hashem or limitation on Hashem. So says the Rambam. This is in Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, the first parak, halacha ches. Hari mefurish b'Torah b'Neviim. It's clear in the Torah and the prophets. She'ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu guf ugevia. He has no body or any physical form. Shenemar ki Hashem Elokeichem hu Elokim b'Shamayim. In Shamayim, mimal ve'ala aretz mitochas. He's there and here he is everywhere. Well, if he's in Shamayim, he shouldn't be in the Aretz. And if he's in the Aretz, he shouldn't be in the Shamayim. No, he's everywhere. Hashem fills everything. Everything. There's no place devoid of Hashem. Ve'haguf lo yeh b'shnei mekoymes. And a body is not in two places simultaneously. V'nemar ki lo yire'isem kol temuna. And the Torah says, you did not see any image. No image. Because an image is this image and not something else. Hashem is not limited to any image. And anytime that you think that something is describing, but what do you mean? Doesn't it talk about yad chazaka, a strong hand and an outstretched arm? That's allegorical. It's referring to the way that Hashem is interacting with the world. Doesn't mean that there's this huge hand in the sky. It means just like a hand is a way of showing and displaying action and interaction. It's the way that I interface, like a handshake. So when we say that Hashem took us out with a strong hand, we mean that Hashem is interacting with us in a certain way, which is a creation. He created interaction with humanity, with the creation. So there's no images of Hashem. V'nemar elmi sedam yuni ve'eshve. Is there anything that's similar? Meaning, if Hashem has some image, then God forbid, then you could liken Hashem to something else. If there's anything, then there could be what to compare. There's some image, now we can compare it. Ve'ilo haya guf haya doim l'shar gufim. And if Hashem, God forbid, would have a body, then you could start now, oh, his body's like this body, or it's like this. There's zero body. And look at the Rambam in Yud Aleph. The kaven shenis bar she'ena gufu gevia. Says the Rambam, and now that it's clear that there's no body, there's no physical form, yisbar shaloy yera loy echad me'oiris hagufus. And therefore, if there's no body, then Hashem is not affected by anything which affects body and physical form. Loy chibur v'loy perid. There's no such thing as him being dependent or attached to creation, i.e. attached in a way of he's affected by creation, or period, he's somehow separate. He's not affected or separate. He's everything. Loy makom v'loy midah. There's no place. We can't say that Hashem is in this place, because it would imply that he's in this place and not that place. Loy aliyah v'loy yerida. When it comes to Hashem, there's not the higher part of Hashem, the lower part of Hashem. Remember, this is all still the code. V'loy min v'loy small. Yamin v'loy small. There's no right or left. What's the right side of infinity? Where exactly is that in infinity? The right side.
Trick question.
The answer is there's none. God, right and left apply to when there's limitation, physical limitation. The right side of my body. The top of my body. The bottom of my body. Loy panim v'loy achar. There's no front and back of infinity. Lo yeshiva lo yamida. Sitting, standing. But then the Rambam says something very interesting. Ve'ena matzui bizman. Hashem is not in time, i.e., he's not bound by time. He's above time. Time happened with creation. Says the Vilna Gaon, Bereshis, in the beginning. The Vilna Gaon says, Bereshis means the creation of time. Because creation only starts when there's now time. To start to measure a progress and a sequence within a created world. Yeah?
What was created before? First, light or time?
The Vilna Gaon implies that time is the beginning. Because time allows anything to happen in a created world. Is now there's a sequence, things are happening. But before that, there's just Hashem. And by the way, what we're talking about now is even after creation, there's just Hashem. All that creation did was give a perspective of the creation of there being such a thing called finite existence. And more so, independent existence. Which, as we've been learning in Shar Yichud Emunah, is a very challenging problem that many people face, is that they think they're actually independent, but they're like a ray of light coming off the sun, absolutely dependent on their source, but they feel, because they're far from the sun, they feel independent. But the joke's on them. You're one with the sun. Okay? Hashem is not found in time, that he would have a beginning, an end, or age. Hashem does not change. Nothing can change God. Nothing can affect Hashem. Those are only things that are subject to the world of a body, to a goof, to finite existence. Okay, now this is important. Ve'ein loy, Hashem does not have loy maves, Hashem cannot die. V'loy chaim, and not life. But hear these words. As you're noticing, we're saying everything here in the Lashon Shlili, what it's not, in the negative. It's not this, and it's not that, and it's not this. Because how do you ascribe something positive to the infinite? We could say it's not finite, even the Or Ein Sof, the light that does not end. Because to put something positive onto it, it's like, oh, that's what it is. It's beyond all that. But here we're going to see a couple of anomalies where we're actually saying that Hashem is something. Which is, so pay attention. Hashem does not die and is not alive, like the way physical bodies live.
Like soul? Like our soul?
Like the way that your body is animated. So the Rambam is saying, is Hashem alive? Can we actually say positively about Hashem that Hashem is alive? Yes. Just not the life of a physical body. But God is life. Whatever our life is like an analogy for Hashem's life. Hashem is alive. He doesn't live and die the way that bodies do. You hear that? The way that bodies do. It doesn't say that Hashem He doesn't have right or left the way you do. He doesn't have above and below like you do. The Rambam says he doesn't have life and death like you do. There he does say like you do, which means he has it. So we can actually positively say about Hashem that Hashem is alive. Hashem is a living God, which is one of the most powerful things that Rav Noach Weinberg of blessed memory would speak about, that how do you know and where do you see God's aliveness? Go into a university campus, into the library, and try to talk loudly. It's not a good idea. They'll probably kick you out. There's big signs that say, quiet, you're in a library. But when you come to a Beis Medrash, is it quiet, or is everybody screaming at each other and jumping up and down with excitement? Yeah, it's loud. It's so loud you could barely hear yourself. And by the way, our Beis Medrash is relatively quiet. We need to pump up the volume in there. But you come to the mirror, it is booming. It is so loud. Mamish. So Rav Noach said, when you learn the words of the living God, you're alive. When you come into a library and everyone's studying calculus, nobody's like yelling in the library, mamish screaming about pshat in an equation in calculus. Not screaming about it. It's all quiet. So Reb Noach said, you see here that it's not so alive. But those that are learning the word of Hashem, it's alive. It's an amazing thing. Do you remember coming to a base medrash the first time in your entire life? And you're like, why is everyone so loud? Anybody feel they were affected by that when they came?
Yeah.
I was very much affected by that.
Last week.
Last week. It's like loud in here. It affected me a lot when I first came to a base medrash. I just heard it so loud. Especially when I went to the mirror. It was like mamish, booming. Like booming. Going to BMG in Lakewood, it's like, it's amazing. It's so alive. It's mamish alive. Because we're learning Hashem's Torah. Hashem is alive. It says, Divra Elikim Chaim, the words of the living God. And the Rambam goes on, Loi sichlus v'loi chachma. Hashem is not a fool and he's not wise. Ke chachmas ha'isha chacham. He's not wise the way that humans are wise. See the same thing repeating. That's another thing we could say about Hashem. Hashem is wise, but not your wisdom. It's not like if you just became the wisest man in the world, so Hashem would just be like a bit above that. No, it's another category entirely. But we do say about Hashem that there's something about Hashem that we can say that Hashem is alive, not our life, but alive, and Hashem is wise. Not our wisdom, but ultimate wisdom, another category of wisdom. Lo yishen v'lo yakitza, he doesn't sleep, he's not awake. V'lo kas v'lo yischok, he doesn't get angry, he doesn't laugh. Lo simcha v'lo atzvus, he doesn't have simcha, he doesn't have depression. V'lo shtika v'lo dibur, he's not silent and he doesn't speak. Here it is again. Kedibur b'nei adam. We spoke about earlier in the Tanya that dibur does not mean like this giant mouth in the sky speaking. I am the Lord your God. None of that. At all. You have to completely remove all that. Speech is what we call revelation of that which is known to you to share with another. That's why when we speak about Hashem creates the world through speech, in the same way that speech is, I know something myself, and then as I speak, I'm revealing my inner world to another. That's what creation is. Creation is the process of that which is inside Hashem revealing to the creation. There's no standing, sitting, separation, connection. Hashem is the everythingness. But there's three things that we say about Hashem that the Rambam is willing to say in the positive, even though he still says it in the negative. Hashem is alive, but not like humans. I mean, Hashem has no life and no goof, like humans. Hashem has no foolishness or wisdom, like humans. And Hashem has no speech, like humans. Which means he has it, but not like we do. So what are we seeing from here? All of this is just an extension of how any type of placement of body consciousness onto God and limiting Hashem's space, even spiritually speaking. Those that thought that Hashem was not in the halal, we weren't talking about physical things here. You know, this whole discussion is not about physicality. We're talking about very lofty things. A goof doesn't have to mean like, dangling legs. A goof means that there is something is here conceptually, i.e. that Hashem could even be conceptually in one place but not somewhere else. And we speak that way. It's interesting when we say like conceptually, when you say like hate has no place here. What do you mean? Like where is it going to sit? No, there's no room for it. There's lots of room. There's some chairs in here. No, you don't mean. I don't mean it has no place. Like physically, I mean, don't bring that kind of consciousness here. So we speak as things having a place, as there being, so to speak, place. And even that the Torah says, Oyeve Hashem sinura. Those that love God hate evil. They don't hate people. They hate the concept of evil. And really they feel bad that somebody's been overtaken by bad vibes, by evil influences. That's bad. And yes, we are very much into ensuring that spaces can be safe spaces, that people don't have to be subjugated to horrible things, which is going on a lot right now. And sadly, Ivy League campuses are allowing and not standing up and allowing for very hateful speech. So this that we say, though, that something doesn't have a place. So we're not referring to a physical thing. We're referring to even spiritual, something can have a place somewhere. But when it comes to Hashem, you can't even talk that way. There's no such thing as Hashem has a place here but not there. Hashem is the oneness. So the Baal HaTanya is beginning his rebuttal that you cannot suggest that Tzimtzum is kipshutai, because then you'd be putting Hashem somewhere and not somewhere else. Yeah? Says the Baal HaTanya weiter. Af gam zois. Not only that, loy bedas yedaberu, me'acher shehem ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim she'HaKadosh Baruch Hu yoidei ha'yitzurim sheba'olam hazeh ha'shafel u'mashgiach aleim ve'al kein ein yediyasa oisem moisifa boi ribui v'chidish mipnei sheyoidei ha'kol b'yediyas atzmoi harei kaviyochel mahusa v'yatzmusa v'daita ha'kol echad. Another problem with putting Hashem somewhere and not somewhere else is, how does Hashem know creation? Remember we spoke about this? Hashem knows creation because Hashem knows himself. If Hashem was somehow separate, he was distant, chas v'shalom, then he would only know it as something outside of himself. He's aware of what's going on, observing it, but not him, because he's not there. That would go against the unity of God, that God knows all of creation because he knows himself. And that knowingness is not something separate from Hashem, it's one with Hashem. So by suggesting that Hashem is, so to speak, away from creation, just think this is so mind-boggling. And this changes your life. Once we're moving into a world of Tzimtzum Shalaik Pshutai, it means God is saturated in this world. He's saturated in this world. And therefore, the entire mission that the Jewish people are here to share with the world is Hashem is here. He's here with us right now. And he wants a relationship. He's not distant observing from a window what's going on over there with this creation. Like a watchmaker who's even worse. He just winds up the watch and walks away. Like the Baal HaTanya addressed those, he called them fools that they even think that. Because that would imply that Hashem is creating the world something from something, right? Like Hashem took a bunch of material, like silver, and Hashem just fashioned the silver into a goblet and then walked away. So does the goblet need the goblet maker? Or the goblet maker could go and have lunch and take a break, and the goblet will still exist on the shelf? Yeah, so Hashem could do the same thing. The Baal HaTanya says, those are the fools. Your whole way of looking at creation is flawed from the get-go. As this world is not created something from something, it's something from nothing. It's constantly being energized. Because Hashem is the infinite one that's radiating light, infinite, or using the Tzimtzum to allow for levels of finite creation to exist, and the secret being that even in the lowest places, Hashem is still there. That even though he, so to speak, covered up his unity and the oneness to allow for finite creation to exist, he never left. Okay, so we saw two proofs today from the Baal HaTanya, based on the Rambam, that the Rambam says, that Hashem has no body. You cannot give any separation, body, consciousness to God, chas v'shalom. If you would have suggested that Hashem has, so to speak, the Tzimtzum is k'pshuta, Hashem would have left, chas v'shalom, we can't say. Then you would say, Hashem is here, but he's not there. Right? Like anybody who ever had a Chabad Ganenet, Hashem is there, Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere. Right? That, if your Ganenet was a Chabad Ganenet, she would sing that song. We're going to see that, by the way, that niggin is the machlekes. Do you sing the niggin? That the entire thing comes down to that, as we'll see, is we're going to learn when we open up the Nefesh HaChaim that the Nefesh HaChaim agrees to the song. The question is, are you allowed to sing it? Do we say Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere? Do you say that? Should you say that? According to the Baal Tanya, and we're going to see from the Nefesh HaChaim, it's going to be clear. It's true. The Tzimtzum is not kipshuta. Hashem fills all the worlds. Fills all the worlds. But should we talk about it? We're going to see from the students of the Baal Shem Tov, not only are you allowed to, but the survival and the destiny of bringing Mashiach depends on understanding Hashem's being in our life in the most crucial way that will be a harbinger, that will bring us to the geula that we so desperately are davening for and we so much want, and will give hope back to humanity, that everything that they're going through, Hashem is with them, and that's really where we're going with this. The second proof we brought from the Baal Tanya, from the Rambam, against Tzimtzum Kipshutai, was that if Hashem left, then he wouldn't know creation by knowing himself. He's not there. So that goes against a principle of the unity of God. We should be Zoicha Mamish to experience the unity of Hashem in a very, very fundamental way. To be continued tomorrow, where we open up a piece from the Tikkunei Zohar, Kol Tuv Rabbi Yisrael. All the best.